Hello, BookTube. Today on my 2023 library tour, I am starting a new bookcase. Yesterday, I finished this upper bookcase on this first part of my history wall. Today, I'll be starting the first bookcase on this shelf that is under it. I first got this shelf about 7 years ago. It was my brother and sister-in-law's, but when they moved, they didn't want to take it with them, and I'm always in need of bookcases, so they gifted it to me. As is the case with this bookcase here too, but I'll get to that in a few days. So let's look at this first bookcase, or first shelf on this bookcase. First up is a survey of historic costume by Phyllis Tortora and Keith Eubank. I picked this book up years ago from the Friends at the Library book sale, and I picked it up largely because I'm interested in historic fashions, particularly as a guide to sort of creating fictional clothing in my fantasy writing. But I've never really read it. Next is a book I read a few weeks ago, A Distant Mirror, The Calamitous 14th Century by Barbara W. Tuchman. This is a history of the 14th century, primarily in France, but it also extends to the rest of Europe. And the book centers on the life of Enguerrand de Coucy VII, the Lord of Coucy, who was a French nobleman who married into the English royal family. I had a go at this book years ago and didn't quite get on with it. And I read it in February for Steve Tiberius Donahue Book Club. And this was the inaugural pick. And I'd been meaning to read it for a while, and I'm very happy that I did. When I started it this past February, I had some issues, mental issues. But I came back to the book, and despite some issues, I think the prose is a bit dated, and I have some issues with the narrative tone, position, voice with the book. I did love it. I really did enjoy it, so very happy to have read it, and I will look forward to reread in the years to come. Next is a book that I think I am planning on reading sometime this year. No. This is Holy Madness, Romantics, Patriots, and Revolutionaries, 1776 to 1871 by Adam Zamoyski. I've been looking forward to reading this book for a while, but I have not gotten around to it yet. Next is The Fall of the Dynasties, The Collapse of the Old Order, 1905 to 1922 by Edmund Taylor. Haven't gotten around to this yet. Bizarrely, the back of the book is the cover. Anyway, I'll get to that at some point. Next is a book by John Julius Norwich, A History of Venice. John Julius Norwich was a popular historian in the mid-20th century who's, I guess, most famous for his Byzantine trilogy and a few other works. Picked this up from the Friends at the Library book sale, and it is in some rough shape. There's some weird something or other right there, which I guess I could have done for the book talk thing yesterday, but oh well. Anyway, but I've been meaning to get to this for a while, and I haven't yet. Next is a really great work of American history. This is Republic of Wrath, How American Politics Turned Tribal from George Washington to Donald Trump by James A. Marone. This is a fantastic book. I really enjoyed reading it. And I think I read it in 2021, but it was fantastic. Next is another book by John Julius Norwich. This is Byzantium, The Decline and Fall. So I'm going to say this is the third, this is the third book in the Byzantine trilogy by him. I do have a sweet tooth for Byzantine history, although I don't really have all that many works of Byzantine history in my collection. This is The Nile by Emil Ludwig. This is a history of the Nile River, which I really would like to get to at some point. Next is a really fantastic book, The Beauty and the Terror, The Italian Renaissance and the Rise of the West by Catherine Fletcher. I really enjoyed this book. I read it, I don't remember when. I could have sworn I picked this up from Powell's, but I'm not seeing a Powell's sticker on this. I don't know where I picked it up from, but I read it, I think in 2021 or 2020 and really enjoyed it. It's a fantastic history of the Renaissance. Another great book I've read is Iron Curtain, The Crushing of Eastern Europe, 1944 to 1956 by Anne Applebaum. This is a harrowing exploration of the Soviet conquest of Eastern Europe in those countries that had communist regimes rise to power or imposed in the aftermath of the Second World War. But this is really good. Another really great book, and one that has not gotten nearly the attention that it deserves, is Post-Wall, Post-Square, How Bush, Gorbachev, Kohl, and Dean Shaped the World After 1989 by Christina Spohr. This is a brilliant book. I absolutely love this book. It looks at the collapse of those communist regimes, Tiananmen Square, the reunification of Germany, and a whole lot more, and it is brilliant. I love this book. It is so well written. And I'm so annoyed that it's never really gotten the attention I think it deserves. Next is another book I really enjoy, The Franco-Prussian War, The German Conquest of France in 1870 to 1871 by Geoffrey Warrow. Next is another book I really enjoy, Ancient Syria, A 3,000-Year History by Trevor Bryce. I do have a strong sweet tooth for ancient Near Eastern history, particularly the Bronze Age. Next is The Punic Wars by Adrian Goldsworthy. This is a really great book as well. It's been a while since I've read it. I really need to reread it. Next is The Habsburg Empire, A New History by Peter M. Judson. I really want to have another go at this one. I remember it being very good, but it kind of starts to drag in the 19th century, but I will revisit this soon and hopefully revise my opinion. Because it's always nice when, on a reread, your opinion is revised more positively toward the book. Although sometimes, particularly when it comes to fiction, my reassessments are usually more negative, except for some cases. But anyway, next is Empire of the Black Sea, The Rise and Fall of the Mithridatic World by Dwayne W. Roller. This is a very good look at the kingdom of Pontus and the Mithridates. Although the book does have a bit of a problem because part of the book is a history of Pontus, and then part of the book is also a biography of the most famous of the Mithridates, and it's kind of a bit of a, yeah, and also cultural history. So Roller's trying to do a lot of things, and it kind of doesn't quite meld together at points, but it's really interesting. I am a bit more critical of The Life and Death of Ancient Cities, A Natural History by Greg Wolfe. This is a look at ancient cities, primarily Greek and Roman cities, which I guess is my disappointment with the book. I wish Wolfe had looked at other cities, Egyptian, Hittite, Near Eastern, Babylonian, further afield, but oh well. Although my reassessment, because I did read this, I did a reread of it, and I liked it a little bit better the second time I read it. So anyway, next is another book by Jill Lepore. This is The Secret History of Wonder Woman. This is a biography of William Moulton Marston. I think that's the order it is. Yeah. The creator of Wonder Woman. It also is a biography of his wife and his other wife. Marston had a very interesting personal life, to say the least. Anyway, but this is a fantastic book. Next is The Peloponnesian War by Donald Kagan. It's been far too long since I've read this. I really need to give this a reread. And then there is yet another biography of Alexander the Great, although this time his father, Philip II, is added in. So this is Philip and Alexander, Kings and Conquerors by Adrian Goldsworthy. This is a pretty good biography of Alexander the Great, although Goldsworthy's interpretations I have quite a few issues with. But yeah. Love the cover though. Next is another great work of biography, King of the World by Philip Mansell. This is the life of Louis XIV. This book I read at the tail end of 2021 and loved it. It gave me a lot of comfort during a very trying time. And I will love to have a reread of this. Yeah, magnificent book. Next is another great work of popular history, if it will come out of here. Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodwin. So this is a group biography of Abraham Lincoln and the men who were his rivals for the 1860 presidential election that also were members of his cabinet. And this is a magnificent book. It's been far too long since I've read it, and I really do need to reread it. And finally, the last book on this shelf is Fifth Sun, A New History of the Aztecs by Camilla Townsend. This won the Kundal Prize in 2020, and I read it and really enjoyed it quite a bit. So yeah, if you're interested in Aztec history, this is definitely a book to check out. So that wraps up this shelf. I will be back tomorrow with the next shelf on this bookcase, which will be, well, the next two shelves will be smaller mass market or small to mid-sized trade paperbacks. because this bookcase has the annoying kind of variation in sizes. So this top shelf and the bottom shelf can hold larger books, taller books, while the two in the middle don't have that capability. It's smaller books, so it kind of makes things a bit difficult. Although when I filled this bookcase up a few years ago, it was kind of fun to sort of gradually fill up the two smaller shelves and also the bigger ones, and I kind of to see how fast I could fill the two shelves up. But anyway, so that's it for today. I might try to do a discussion video as I'm loading this up, although if there is no video, then it was a failure. But I will be back tomorrow with another bit of the library tour as well as weekly reads. And if I don't do the video, well, I'm not entirely sure how the weather is going to turn out. But I probably won't do anything later this evening. So if my attempt at doing my discussion video fails again, then this will be the only video for today. So until I see you next time, BookTube, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.